to infinity and beyond!
Wait, yeah, pause. That's me. Well, a shorter, fatter version at least. That's me at the age of 2 after seeing Toy Story for the first time and believing I could spread my plastic wings and soar across the Toy Story shaped clouds. But of course, to no surprise by absolutely anyone, I came to the same fate as Buzz in the movies. Yeah, long story short, I broke my arm. Hello to everyone who's not dead yet, and welcome to what is our first official theory video. Keeping that in mind though, I wanted to make sure this theory included a film or a game I loved as a kid. And the first theory needs to be entertaining, but also have an interesting topic. So what better theory to cover than the Pixar Theory? If you don't know, the Pixar Theory is a theory that all of Pixar's movies are all intertwined into one giant universe. Every single Pixar movie, from the witches and bears found in Brave to the secret energy company of Monsters Inc. Even the tiny ants and grasshoppers of Bug's Life are all one big connected storyline. It's kind of like Marvel's cinematic universe, but with no straight storyline to how they're connected. And that's where the theories come in. How are all of these different movies and topics connected? Well, today, we're going to start this theory, starting off with my favorite childhood movie and Pixar's newest creation, WALL-E and Lightyear. Now, off of first glance, WALL-E and Lightyear seem to have little to no connection with one another. I mean, WALL-E is a robot saving the planet from the population's out-of-control trash piles, which on its own could be a theory for another day. But then there is Lightyear's space and time travel, which makes these two films seem like they come from two very different stories. But looking over Pixar's vast amount of different films, these two movies have two things in common that no other Pixar film has. And that's the fact these two movies both take place in outer space and are filled with robotic AI. And that is the best starting place for us to begin our search. Keeping these facts in the back of our mind, let's take a look into WALL-E, which has a very confusing detail that shouldn't be looked past. Either Pixar made a critical error while making this movie, or there is some lore perspective that needs some attention. And as a wannabe theorist, of course, I'm gonna overanalyze and theorize about it instead of just claiming someone over at Pixar made a wrong calculation. Every morning, the captain speaks over the Axiom speakers to its guests, saying which day they've reached on the ship, and the numbers don't add up at all. Supposedly, when WALL-E lands on the ship, it is their 700th anniversary aboard the ship. But the captain also tells us the day they're on, and that number is 255,642, a number that does not match up with their claimed anniversary date. Because 700 years in the form of days would only add up to 255,500. Even if we get all technical, adding in leap days that happen every 4 years, the total number of days on their ship should now be 255,675. That's 33 more days than what the captain claims they're on. But the big question is why? Why are there 33 days lost to history on this ship? But of course, I believe I found the answer, and to solve this mystery, we're gonna have to go all the way back to the beginning of WALL-E, where he is all alone on our trash-covered planet. So for the 95% of people who didn't see the opening of this movie, because they were either on their phones or were grabbing their movie drinks and popcorn, the city WALL-E is cleaning is filled with posters, ads, and many commercials. And one of them is promoting the B&L Starliner space cruise. In this commercial, it shows multiple ships launching from Earth with the words B&L Starliners leaving each day. And these ships look exactly like the one we see WALL-E land on. This shows that there is not just one space axiom out there, but rather multiple. And if this is true though, it begs the question, where are these other ships now? We only ever see WALL-E enter one of them, and once again, we have to go back to the commercials for that answer, where they say, spend your 5-year cruise in style. This is explained later in the movie by and large themselves, saying the air has become unsafe on Earth for them to return in just 5 years, and they must stay up in space to survive. So how did they survive for 700 years when they only planned for 5? Where did by and large get enough medical equipment, enough clothing, and most importantly, enough food? So let's say by and large had enough equipment to sustain life on each ship for the 5 years they planned, even though I'd imagine they have both extra ships and supplies. But either way, hear me out. What if, once the CEO of by and large found out they can't return to Earth on schedule, they took the supplies of every other ship to ensure that one of them survives, and that very ship would be the head of all the Axioms, where both the captain and Otto are living, which Wally would later land on. And before you chuck this theory into Wally's trash pile, just hear it out. This theory is not too far of a stretch. The robot version of the captain named Otto is literally designed to do anything to keep the human race alive. And we see this all the way through the movie, where Otto is fighting Wally to keep them in space, thinking that the Earth is still deadly. Otto even tries getting the Earth-saving plant launched into space forever. But how many ships would he need to steal from to sustain life on one of them? If every ship had enough equipment to survive for 5 years, there would only need to be 140 ships out there to carry enough supplies for a single ship to have 700 years worth of supplies. Which at first, that sounds like a lot, but in reality, as I'm recording, there are 7.9 billion people on Earth. And with that many people, we could easily fill up the 140 ships that we're talking about. And also, many more, considering by the time we get to the year the Axiom launches in the movie, which is 2105, the population would only have increased, therefore filling even more ships. And this would explain why the guests of the Axiom are always eating, with no care at all about running out. It's because one ship has everyone else's supplies, and they aren't afraid of running out. Most importantly though, this is why the day-to-year count I was talking about earlier is off. The 33 days that aren't accounted for were the days that it took for the robots to overtake the other ships. And the day counts off because they don't want the crew to be reminded of what happened to the rest of them. They want it forgotten about altogether. So their solution is to erase it from their day count, but accidentally they never erased it from their year count. Information that was overlooked by both Otto and the original captain. 33 days of a mass purge to keep a lucky few alive, with hopes that it's forgotten about by history if the day count was changed. But if this dark history of the Axiom is true, and Otto had his robot crew steal from every other ship out there, there's two major questions that need some light on them. One, what happened to these people? And two, where are these people now? Or are they even alive? I believe they are. And this is where we will finally be able to incorporate Lightyear, since we have only been talking about Wally so far. First though, I have a question for you. Where did Buzz and his crew come from before they landed on the planet the Lightyear movie takes place on? That's where the problem is. We don't know where his crew came from. We don't even know why they're looking for a new planet to live on at all. So my theory is, what if one of the ships that Otto and the robots stole from and abandoned actually had Buzz Lightyear and the rest of his crew aboard, or at least an older generation of them? This would explain so much. If Buzz's crew was abandoned, then it would tell us why he is so stubborn to find a perfect place to live. It explains why the rest of his crew doesn't mind being on a dangerous plant-infested planet. Buzz's crew just wants to feel at home again after being thrown away by and large. So I can honestly say that I believe that this is the backstory to Lightyear's crew. So is that it? Am I done editing this really long theory video? Of course not. I can already feel the comments rolling in saying Andy played with the toy Buzz in 1995, and Wally takes place in 2805, so Lightyear could not have taken place after. And the opening scene of Lightyear tells us we are watching a movie that Andy watched as a kid. But that is just where this theory all ties together, and really starts to make sense. But it will only make sense to the true movie nerds who wait all the way until the end of the credits in hope of finding a secret ending which teases another movie or secret. And in Lightyear, there are multiple. In the first post-credit scene, we see Commander Burnside sitting in his office, And if you look closely on the shelf in the corner, we have two statues, and one of them is the claw-loving alien from Toy Story 2, but also one of the Axiom's basic utility repair nano engineers, or Bernie for short. And yes, all of these robots have abbreviations, including WALL-E, or Waste Allocation Load Lifter Earth Class. But anyway, Bernie on the shelf was the same robot that WALL-E and Eve locked outside of the Axiom and then later got his own short film. The fact Bernie was on Commander Burnside's shelf proves that Lightyear has to take place after the Axiom launched in WALL-E back in 2105. But that still leaves the question on how Andy watched a movie on Buzz back in 1995, a whole 110 years earlier. This is where we go to the final post-credit scene to see a destroyed ship and supposedly a dead Zurg, who turns his eyes back on, showing he is still alive, even after Buzz supposedly destroyed him in the movie. The battle we see in Lightyear was not Buzz's and Zurg's final duel, it was their first. Zurg had to have attacked again and succeeded in going back in time this round like he first planned, but just like last time he time traveled during the movie, he went to the wrong year, because he has no control of his time travel ability. And the only time that makes sense for him to go back to was a few years before 1995 when Andy gets his Space Ranger action toy. Which makes sense because this is why Buzz's toy is so popular in Toy Story 2, which also got him his own movie that Andy later watched. Technological advances and space travel like this was unheard of, which drove the popularity of Lightyear toys and films. But if you're still convinced the whole Lightyear movie is just a movie Andy watched, look at this tweet the voice actor of Buzz posted, Chris Evans, who says, and quote, "And just to be clear, this isn't Buzz Lightyear the toy. This is the origin story of the human Buzz Lightyear that the toy is based on." And when Chris Evans said human Buzz, he means a person from Andy's real world, because Lightyear is a movie within a movie. I know, it's confusing, but because of Captain America's post here, this proves that this whole theory is a true possibility. And there it is. There's my first dive into the Pixar universe. And how is Order 33 for a theory name because of the robot's orders. I hope you enjoyed the second video on the channel, and I think 150 subscribers is pretty impressive for how new we are. So I challenge you guys to double that number to 300 before we dive into our next theory, where we mine into the golden secrets Minecraft piglins hold, we calculate the Joker's net worth, or we just continue exploring the Pixar theory. And just like Zurg, I'll see all of you that aren't dead yet. Have a good one.